All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751 waiting for you. The Sururyu fist that my master taught me is for protection, but I used it to kill. I tainted my master's most important Sururyu fist with my blood. Maybe no matter how hard I try, I can never become a strong man. In the end, I didn't protect anything well. Yeah. What I really want to kill is probably myself. I'm the damn weakling. Akaza seemed to have an epiphany, or he wanted to seek a way out, and suddenly he had the idea of committing suicide. When Tanjiro saw that Akaza was still planning to attack, he couldn't help but quickly pull Tomioka Giyu to a safe place. So, Tanjiro rushed towards Tomioka Giyu. Tomioka Giyu saw Tanjiro rushing towards him and couldn't help but stop him, saying, "Don't worry about me." But it was impossible for Tanjiro to ignore Tomioka Giyu. Tanjiro picked up Tomioka Giyu and ran desperately in one direction. Akaza's attack also came out from behind, and the huge energy impact knocked Tanjiro to the ground. Tanjiro didn't know what happened, but he sensed that Akaza's attack was not coming towards him, but at the original place. Could it be that someone came to support him? This was the thought that immediately popped up in Tanjiro's mind. Immediately, Tanjiro couldn't help but look back and saw a situation that surprised him. No one came to support him, but Akaza's body suffered very serious damage. At this time, Akaza's body condition was a skeleton with some skin and flesh attached to it. He attacked himself? Why did he attack himself? He seemed to be thanking me? Tanjiro was extremely confused. This was the first time Tanjiro encountered such a situation. Although Akaza seemed to want to commit suicide, his body was still repairing itself quickly, and the damage caused before seemed to have recovered. Enough. Stop regenerating. It's over. Tanjiro is the only one who can defeat me fairly. Tanjiro may be the strong man that master said. Faced with his constantly regenerating body, Akaza can only keep attacking himself. Tanjiro and Tomioka Giyu saw Akaza's actions at this time, and their faces were full of confusion and shock. What's wrong with this guy? Is he crazy? Tomioka Giyu couldn't help but murmured. Maybe he has found his humanity that was locked deep in his heart. Now he is seeking liberation. Tanjiro couldn't help but analyze. Then should I go up and finish him off? Tomioka Giyu was still a little worried. Although Akaza seemed to be committing suicide now, Tomioka Giyu was afraid that Akaza suddenly didn't want to commit suicide anymore, which would be troublesome. But Tomioka Giyu was not as emotional as Tanjiro. He just wanted Akaza to die quickly. Hearing this, Tanjiro shook his head and said, "We can't kill him. If we rush in, he might rebel. Let's just wait and see." Akaza, who had tried to commit suicide but failed, suddenly knelt down and couldn't help muttering in his heart, "What should I do? It still doesn't work. Master." Suddenly, Akaza felt as if he was hugged. "It's okay. I'll always be with you. Dad and I are waiting for you." Chapter 752 Thank you, Tanjiro. The girl's hug made Akaza feel very warm and familiar. Akaza had not experienced such a warm feeling for a long time. "Koyuki. Thank you." Akaza also took the initiative to hug the girl who hugged him. But in reality, there was no girl named Koyuki in front of Akaza. What Tanjiro and Tomioka Giyu saw was just Akaza hugging himself tightly. Then, Akaza's body turned into ashes and finally completely dissipated in this world. At the moment when Akaza completely disappeared, Tanjiro suddenly heard Akaza's voice in his mind. "Thank you." These three words echoed in Tanjiro's mind, making Tanjiro stunned. Then Tanjiro looked at Tomioka Giyu and asked, "Brother Giyu, did you hear that?" Hearing this, Tomioka Giyu didn't know what Tanjiro wanted to express. He thought that Tanjiro heard something he didn't hear, and then asked back, "What did you hear? Is there any change?" Tanjiro shook his head, then smiled and said, "No. Brother Giyu, how are you? Can you continue to move?" Tanjiro couldn't help but look at Tomioka Giyu, who was more seriously injured, and asked. Hearing this, Tomioka Giyu shook his head and said, I no longer have the ability to continue fighting. You may have to walk the rest of the way alone. As he said this, Tomioka Giyu began to take off his clothes. Tanjiro quietly watched Tomioka Giyu take off all his clothes. After taking off his clothes, he could see many dense blood wounds on Tomioka Giyu's body. These large amounts of external injuries gave people the feeling of 4 words: horrible. Then, Tomioka Giyu began to search the room, and soon found a box of matches in this room. Then, Tomioka Giyu found some flammable wood pieces and finally used the matches to light a fire. Tanjiro's injury was not as serious as Tomioka Giyu's. The only external injury was that a layer of skin and flesh was kicked off his chin by Akaza. What affected Tanjiro was mainly the several broken ribs and the excessive consumption of physical and mental strength. Transparent world not only consumes a lot of mental strength, but also consumes a lot of physical strength. The reason why Tanjiro saw everything slower was not only because of the high activity of the visual nerves, but more because of the high activity of his own muscle tissue. Therefore, even if Tanjiro's situation was better than Tomioka Giyu, he still needed a short time to recover before the next round of battle. Tomioka Giyu was sitting cross-legged in front of a small fire, holding the broken Nichiren sword in his hand and burning it on the fire. Tanjiro knew that Tomioka Giyu was going to use the hot blade to burn the wound and then achieve the purpose of sealing the wound and stopping the bleeding. Tanjiro has never used this method of stopping bleeding on himself because this method of stopping bleeding is only used when it is absolutely necessary. The wound must be scalded to stop bleeding, which is very harmful to the body. If it is not completely scalded, it will not work, but will make the damage to the body more serious. Seeing that Tomioka Giyu seems to be very skilled, Tanjiro already knows that Tomioka Giyu is obviously not doing this for the first time. Chapter 753 I will. Just as Tanjiro and Tomioka Giyu also won, Bai Yu's treatment of Inosuke Kaneo had come to an end, and Inosuke Kaneo's consciousness gradually began to recover. Brother Baimeo, it's you again. Inosuke was the first to speak. Did you kill the demon again? It's really infuriating. Inosuke complained helplessly. Hearing this, Bai Yu knew that Inosuke wanted to behead the upper string demon with his own hands and then use this to prove his ability. You have done a good job. You will definitely become a pillar. Bai Yu comforted Inosuke. After speaking, Bai Yu patted Inosuke's shoulder and then immediately got up to treat Kocho Shinobu and Hattori Kyujo. Stop. Leave it to me from now on. Bai Yu grabbed Kocho Shinobu's wrist and then began to transfer wood essence to Kocho Shinobu and Hattori Kyujo at the same time. Kocho Shinobu did not resist this time and let Bai Yu grab it. Sorry, I couldn't let you kill the ghost who killed your sister. Bai Yu couldn't help but apologize to Kocho Shinobu while treating her. Hearing this, Kocho Shinobu didn't blame Bai Yu this time, but suddenly took the initiative to hug Bai Yu and gave Bai Yu a long lost hug. It doesn't matter who killed it. I'm already very satisfied to see the second upper string die in front of me. Thank you, husband. Kocho Shinobu leaned into Bai Yu's ear and whispered. The most important thing is that Bai Yu also saved Kaneo and Inosuke, which is the most important thing, because Kocho Shinobu doesn't want to see anyone sacrifice anymore. Seeing Kocho Shinobu turn back to her old appearance, Bai Yu couldn't help but smile. Butterfly, can you tell me when you found out you were pregnant? Bai Yu asked about the child this time. Hearing this, Kocho Shinobu didn't have any surprises, because Kocho Shinobu thought that Bai Yu found out she was pregnant when she was treating her body, but in fact Bai Yu learned about it from the superdimensional crossing system just over 4 months ago. Kocho Shinobu replied. Bai Yu couldn't help but look at Kocho Shinobu's abdomen, as if he wanted to see if Kocho Shinobu's belly had grown bigger. Seeing this, Kocho Shinobu couldn't help but say, it will take another month before there is an obvious belly. Why didn't you tell me the first time? Bai Yu asked again. If I had told you, you would definitely let me be a full-time mother. Kocho Shinobu said a little willfully. Bai Yu didn't blame Kocho Shinobu for this behavior too much. As long as the mother and child are safe, there is nothing to worry about these things. Can I be a full-time mother now? Bai Yu asked again. Wait until you get rid of Musen Kibutsuji. Kocho Shinobu said mischievously. Although Kocho Shinobu's answer was a bit forced on Bai Yu, it was indeed the perfect ending she wanted to see the most. This night is the best time to get rid of Muzan Kibutsuji. If Muzan Kibutsuji can be eliminated this time, then humans will no longer be invaded by ghosts, and the world will become a better place. Shinobu Kocho can also live out the rest of her life happily with her husband and children. Chapter 754 We are all your family. Just as Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu were talking harmoniously again, Hattori Kyujo gradually regained consciousness. After waking up, Hattori Kyujo felt something on his stomach. He looked carefully and saw that it was a person's hand on it. Following the arm, Hattori Kyujo saw that the owner of the hand was Bai Yu. After seeing Bai Yu, Hattori Kyujo thought the battle was completely over. Senior Bai Yu, did you kill Muzan Kibutsuji? Hattori Kyujo couldn't help but ask. Hearing this, Bai Yu noticed that Hattori Kyujo had woken up, so he looked at her and said, "Not yet, I'm here to save you. Is the upper rank 2 dead?" Hattori Kyujo asked again. Bai Yu nodded, and then said, "Yes, he's dead. I'm sorry that I couldn't let you witness his death with your own eyes." After hearing Bai Yu's words, a trace of loss flashed across Hattori Kyujo's eyes, and then Hattori Kyujo was completely relieved, and then murmured, "It's better to be dead, it's better to be dead." Although Hattori Kyujo didn't know how Bai Yu killed Dauma, who was no longer afraid of beheading, Hattori Kyujo believed that Bai Yu must have a way. Hattori Kyujo was relieved, because she had cut off Dauma's neck with her own hands before. If Dauma hadn't overcome the beheading, he would have died. So from a certain perspective, Hattori Kyujo had killed Dauma with her own hands. Shinobu Kocho could hear from Hattori Kyujo's words that Hattori Kyujo also had a very deep hatred for the upper two, so she could understand Hattori Kyujo's feelings very well. So, Shinobu Kocho reached out and touched Hattori Kyujo's forehead and then said, "It's okay. Everyone is fine. We are all your family." At this moment, the crow suddenly flew over Bai Yu and then shouted in a hoarse voice, "Tanjiro and Giyu successfully killed the third upper moon Akaza. Tanjiro and Giyu successfully killed the third upper moon Akaza." The crow reported the news of Tanjiro and Tomioka Giyu's victory to Bai Yu and his party. Hearing this news, Bai Yu couldn't help but feel happy for Tanjiro. It seemed that this kid could already stand on his own. Now, Bai Yu, please go and support Fushiguro-san immediately. Please support Fushiguro-san. The crow soon told Bai Yu another piece of news. Hearing this, Shinobu Kocho and Kyujo Hattori said in unison, "I'm fine now. Go quickly." Bai Yu immediately transferred Shinobu Kocho, Kyujo Hattori, Inosuke, and Kaneo to a pavilion. After settling everyone, Bai Yu immediately followed the guidance of the crow to provide support. But Bai Yu was very confused. Didn't Shimizu Busa already lose his ability to fight? Why did he need support? If this guy was really in danger, he probably wouldn't be able to get support. However, Bai Yu didn't question Kyujo Hattori's intelligence, so he went to see first. Under the guidance of Kyujo Hattori, Bai Yu soon found Shimizu Busao. At this time, Shimizu Busao had been forced into a corner of the room by dozens of those deformed and weird ghosts, and Shimizu Busao had nowhere to retreat. But soon Bai Yu saw that those ghosts that pounced on Shimizu Busao were actually attacked invisibly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755, Two People Who Put Aside Their Grudges. With Bai Yu's extremely sharp perception, Bai Yu realized that it was not an invisible attack, but something was protecting Fushiguro, and this thing was controlled by Fushiguro. Bai Yu could not help but admire Fushiguro. This guy's body was already unable to fight with high intensity, but now he did not use his body to fight, but use the wind. This is why Bai Yu admired Fushiguro. He could come up with such a method. Flame breathing, 9 type. Purgatory Meteor. Bai Yu instantly launched Purgatory Meteor and cut a bloody path for Fushiguro. Water breathing, 3 type. Flowing Dance. Then, Bai Yu used flowing dance to completely clear the remaining ghosts. Bai Yu only used 2 moves to clear all the ghosts that Fushiguro had forced into a dead corner. Finally, Bai Yu stood in front of Fushiguro and asked him, "Are you okay?" Looking closely, Bai Yu saw that there were several shurikens protecting Fushiguro, and those shurikens had stopped moving and were floating and rotating in front of Fushiguro. "It's okay. Thank you," Fushiguro said very calmly. Bai Yu could tell from the temperament that Fushiguro was exuding that his state of mind had been precipitated and sublimated, becoming as calm as the surface of the water. It seems that in the past 6 months, Fushiguro did not accept his fate, but chose to be reborn in another way. It seems that you have realized your way. Bai Yu looked at Fushiguro and said, "It can be regarded as a blessing in disguise. Anyway, I must thank you." Fushiguro said very calmly, "Come with me. Butterfly and several team members are injured, so I'll trouble you to take care of them." After Bai Yu finished speaking, he immediately set off. Fushiguro looked at Bai Yu, who disappeared in the blink of an eye, and couldn't help shaking his head and smiling bitterly. Although Fushiguro could sense Bai Yu's general direction, Fushiguro's current physical condition could not support him to run at high speed, so it was impossible for him to catch up with Bai Yu. Then, Bai Yu appeared in front of Fushiguro again, and Fushiguro had already expected Bai Yu to turn back. This time, Bai Yu carried Fushiguro on his shoulders without saying a word, and then rushed to the location where Kocho Shinobu was. By taking Fushiguro to Kocho Shinobu, Bai Yu planned to let Fushiguro protect Kocho Shinobu for him. Although Bai Yu knew that Fushiguro's new control of his strength was not enough to deal with the upper rank demon, Akaza and Dauma were already dead, and now only Muzan Kibutsuji and Kokushibo were left. While the others were all chasing Muzan Kibutsuji, Bai Yu felt that the probability of Shinobu Kocho encountering the upper rank demons again was low, mainly because of the large number of deformed demons. Although these deformed demons were not very powerful, Shinobu Kocho's group was seriously injured. If they encountered those deformed demons, they might not be able to deal with them. So when Bai Yu saw that Fushiguro could barely deal with these deformed demons, he had the idea of letting him guard and take care of Shinobu Kocho's group. Chapter 756, Discovering Mingnu. While Tanjiro and Akaza were fighting, Kanrigi Mitsuri and Iguro Abane came to the commanding heights in the center of these intersecting spaces. With the help of the god's perspective, Kanrigi Mitsuri quickly found where Naruto was. "Found it, Mr. Iguro." "There." Kanrigi Mitsuri excitedly pointed to a place and shouted. Naruto was at the highest point, where many rooms were stacked together. There were also many such overlapping rooms around, some of which were higher, some were lower, some were close together, and some were tens of meters or even tens of meters away. If you fall out of the rooms near the top, you will definitely die. The deep pit similar to the elevator shaft that Zenitsu Agatsuma fell into before was surrounded by these overlapping rooms. Hearing this, Iguro Abane looked in the direction pointed by Kanrigi Mitsuri and saw Naruto all of a sudden. Now that Naruto's ability is fully activated, her entire lower body is like an octopus, and those tentacles are like blood vessels, firmly attached to the roof of the tall building where she is. There is a C in the eye. It's upper string 4. Iguro Abane said. Hasn't upper string 4 been eliminated? Kanrigi Mitsuri couldn't help but feel a little strange. It should be the successor. Muzan Kibutsuji dared to take the initiative this time. Obviously he was fully prepared. The space here seems to be controlled by her. Iguro Abane analyzed. "I'm on it." Kanrigi Mitsuri couldn't wait to stand up and jump to where Mingnu was. But just when Kanrigi Mitsuri was about to jump to the roof where Mingnu was, a sliding door suddenly appeared in front of Kanrigi Mitsuri, blocking Kanrigi Mitsuri's way. This door appeared very suddenly, as if it appeared out of thin air, and it was almost stuck to Kanrigi Mitsuri's face, so Kanrigi Mitsuri had no chance to destroy the door. So Kanrigi Mitsuri hit the door heavily, and then her body leaned back, and blood splashed out of her nose, and finally fell to the room on the bottom floor. Because the rooftop where Mingnu was located was not only the tallest building, but also not connected to other buildings or close to them, so there was no place for Kanrigi Mitsuri to land. However, Kanraji Mitsuri did not care about this problem, but felt that her behavior just now was a bit embarrassing. Kanraji Mitsuri covered her nose and her face turned red with embarrassment. How embarrassing. What am I doing? I actually bumped into the door. I was a bit too hasty. When Aguro Abane saw Kanraji Mitsuri falling to the ground, he immediately jumped towards Kanraji Mitsuri, hugged her, and then successfully landed on another building. Kanraji Mitsuri was able to escape the dead end of falling to death. If Aguro Abane had not been there this time, it is estimated that Kanraji Mitsuri would have died this time. Aguro saved me again. Every time he took the initiative to stand in front of me. What should I do? It seems that I like him more and more. The moment she was hugged, Kanraji Mitsuri couldn't help but secretly said in her heart. But just as the two of them landed on the door of a room, the door suddenly opened. Chapter 757 Teasing. Mitsuri, Kanraji and Aguro Abane's feet were empty again, but this time they reacted very quickly and reached out to grab the door frame in an instant. Then they turned over and stood on the door frame. Just when the two had just stood firm, suddenly several horizontal buildings, like moving truck compartments, hit the two from the side again. Mitsuri, Kanraji and Aguro Abane could only dodge again, but the buildings around them kept changing. Mitsuri Kanraji suddenly lost her footing, and her entire center of gravity suddenly tilted back, and she was about to fall backwards. Mitsuri Kanraji hurriedly waved her hands to adjust her balance again. Before Mitsuri Kanraji could stabilize her body, a building had already hit her and knocked her out fiercely. Because the speed of the building was very fast, Mitsuri Kanraji did not fall to the ground, but was held tightly by the building. Mr. Aguro. Mitsuri Kanraji subconsciously shouted Aguro Abane. Aguro Abane was also dealing with the attack from Naruto and was unable to rescue Kanraji Mitsuri. Kanraji Mitsuri soon discovered that the building that was against her was under Naruto's control, crashing into another vertical building. It's over. My steamed bun is going to be smashed into a meat pie. Kanraji Mitsuri couldn't help but scream as she looked at her plump breasts. Then, Kanraji Mitsuri swung her knife and chopped, destroying the front of the building that was against her. Kanraji Mitsuri only felt the push on her back disappear, and then the whole person began to be affected by gravity and began to fall. The next second, the building crashed into another vertical building, creating a big hole in the vertical building, and the collision of the two buildings splashed a lot of broken building debris. Kanraji Mitsuri was under the hole, with one of her hands tightly grasping the edge of the building. Fortunately, the steamed bun didn't turn into a meat pie. Kanraji Mitsuri breathed a sigh of relief, and then Kanraji Mitsuri exerted force with her arms again, and then rolled over and rolled into the room that already had a big hole. Just when Kanraji Mitsuri just stood still, a building hit Kanraji Mitsuri again. Kanraji Mitsuri, who already knew that Mingnu's attack was not very dangerous, immediately moved. Kanraji Mitsuri first jumped to the flying building, then used this building as a springboard for transfer, took off again, and finally jumped towards the building where Mingnu was. This time Kanraji Mitsuri had made preparations in advance to deal with the buildings that might appear in front of her at any time, to prevent her from hitting the door that suddenly appeared like the first time. Facing Kanraji Mitsuri, who was approaching her again, Mingnu still used the same trick and moved the door of another space to Kanraji Mitsuri in front of her. Kanraji Mitsuri, who had been prepared for this, flipped over the door like a pole vaulter. I won't use the same trick again. Kanraji Mitsuri scolded. But when Kanraji Mitsuri flipped from one side to the other and hadn't landed yet, another door suddenly appeared on the other side of Kanraji Mitsuri, but this door was open, and Kanraji Mitsuri flipped into the space of the other door. Kanraji Mitsuri's face was immediately filled with black lines. Chapter 758, A Battle Without Gunfire. I will definitely come back. Kanraji Mitsuri said angrily to Mingnu the moment the door closed. In Kanraji Mitsuri's opinion, Mingnu was just teasing her, which naturally made her very angry. Kanraji Mitsuri then flipped out of another door, and the moment she flipped out, Kanraji Mitsuri immediately reached out and grabbed the edge of the building. However, before Kanraji Mitsuri could be happy, the heavily closed door suddenly pinched Kanraji Mitsuri's hand hard, and Kanraji Mitsuri let go of the pain and fell to the ground. The process of falling was very fast, and the feeling of weightlessness was almost replaced by the pain in her buttocks, which made Kanroji Mitsuri unable to react. "My buttocks," Kanroji Mitsuri said with a distorted expression, and crying in pain, while touching her buttocks. Because Mingnu teleported Kanroji Mitsuri to a room that was very close to the ground, Kanroji Mitsuri did not fall to death directly. The reason why Mingnu didn't let Kanroji Mitsuri flip out from the door at the highest point was because the situation this time was different from the last time. Last time, Kanroji Mitsuri hit the door hard and flew backwards for several meters, so Kanroji Mitsuri had lost all her footing. This time, Kanroji Mitsuri just flipped out of the door. Even if she fell from the highest point, she would be next to the building. In this way, Kanroji Mitsuri could insert the sun wheel sword into the building and stop herself from falling or slow down her falling speed. The most important thing was that Mingnu didn't want to get entangled with Kanroji Mitsuri, so she teleported Kanroji Mitsuri to a place far away from her. Kanroji Mitsuri looked up at the very tall building in front of her, and she felt very upset. Although Mingnu's blood demon art was not very aggressive, it was extremely annoying. "Hate it. You actually brought me to the bottom." Kanroji Mitsuri waved her fist angrily, and finally she could only find a way to return to the highest point. At the same time, when Kanroji Mitsuri was teleported to the lowest point by Naruto with the blood demon technique, Iguro Abane also fell out of the door that Kanroji Mitsuri had fallen out of before. Kanroji Mitsuri caught Iguro Abane in a princess hug, and then Kanroji Mitsuri said, "Mr. Iguro, you were also transferred away by her." Iguro Abane's face was extremely red at this time, and then she jumped off Kanroji Mitsuri in a panic, and then coughed a few times and said, "The newly appointed upper string 4, although not very aggressive, is not easy to deal with. Her ability is probably to control this entire space. We are in this space. It is estimated that it is difficult to contact her head on. Then what should we do?" Kanroji Mitsuri asked again. "We can only keep trying, and then kill her with one blow. As long as she is solved, it is estimated that the hiding place of Muzan Kibutsuji can be found." Iguro Abane did not have a good way to deal with Naruto, so she could only choose to keep trying. After all, this kind of space control technique cannot be interrupted by their attacks. After that, Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane could only return to the highest point and attack Mingnu again. The result of the second attack was still the same. Mingnu did not intend to fight with Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane at all, and teleported them to another place again. Chapter 759 Yashiro's support. The third time, the fourth time, and after trying again and again, Mitsuri, Kanroji and Iguro Abane still couldn't touch Mingnu. In the end, the repeated trips consumed a lot of their physical strength. Damn it. It's so frustrating. Iguro Abane punched the wall hard with her fist. Mitsuri Kanroji was also a little annoyed. She was teleported away every time. It was clearly a trick on them. "Why don't we just ignore her? Let's find other people first," Mitsuri Kanroji said at this time. "We can't leave. If all the space here is controlled by her, she will definitely not let us find other people." Iguro Abane said lightly. "That's right. We must control her so that the battle situation can be under our control." At this moment, a boy's voice suddenly came into the ears of Mitsuri Kanroji and Iguro Abane. The sudden sound startled Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane. Then they looked in the direction of the sound and saw a boy in a kimono standing not far from them. Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane both had a question in their minds. When did this boy appear there? Why couldn't they sense him? Are you a ghost? Iguro Abane increased her senses and felt the faint breath of the boy. After saying that, Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane both held their right hands on the handle of the Nichiren sword and took a posture to fight. However, this time, Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane did not blindly attack the boy not far away. And this man was none other than Yashiro beside Tameo. Yashiro found Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane not to fight with them, but to help them deal with Mingnu, because Mingnu could not be dealt with by conventional means alone. Seeing that Kanroji Mitsuri and Iguro Abane were wary of him, Yashiro immediately explained, "Although I'm a demon, I'm not your enemy. Since you are a demon, you are the target of our Demon Slayer Corps to eliminate." Kanroji Mitsuri immediately said righteously. I'm here to help you deal with Mingnu. Yashiro emphasized again. Do you think I will believe what you say? Iguro Abane said coldly. Yashiro also knew that there would be such a situation, so he didn't care too much, but took out a letter from his arms and said, I have a letter from the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps to you. You will understand after reading it. Yashiro said, and threw the letter to Iguro Abane. Iguro Abane took the letter and became more confused. How could a demon have a letter from the leader? Is it a trap? Mr. Iguro, open it and take a look. Kanroji Mitsuri was also a little curious why a demon had a letter from the leader. Besides, the master has already died. Could it be that the letter was already written? Hearing this, Iguro Abane also opened the letter and then read it together with Kanroji Mitsuri. It's the handwriting of the master's wife. There's also the master's jade seal on it. Kanroji Mitsuri exclaimed immediately after seeing the shape of the font and the jade seal in the lower right corner. Chapter 760 The Lord's Letter. Iguro Abane was also very surprised in her heart. The font and the seal were real, but she still read the contents of the letter silently. Jayama Ishima, Tenjin Yuzu, Kyojiro Ringoku, Minami Fushigura, Muchiro Takato, Iguro Abane, Chihayu Tomioka, Mitsuri Kanroji, Shinobu Kocho. My children, when you see this letter, you should have met Mr. Yashiro. Although Mr. Yashiro is a ghost, he is not our enemy like Nezuko. With his help, you have a chance to control Naruto. I'm sorry, I didn't discuss this plan with you, but please make sure to defeat Muzan Kibutsuji. This way my sacrifice will not be in vain. The content of the letter is not much, but it is very simple and clear. Judging from the signatures of the 9 pillars at the beginning of the letter, this letter seems to be for all the pillars who may encounter Yashiro. Despite this, Iguro Abane still doesn't quite believe that the master will go along with a ghost and hook up with them. I don't think the master will go along with the demon. What is your purpose? Iguro Abane questioned Yashiro. First of all, I don't have any purpose, and there is no need to lie to you. If I really want you to die, I can just do it directly. There is no need to make it so complicated. Yashiro emphasized again. You have to trust me. Just stick these talismans around Mingnu and on her face, and then I will use my blood demon technique to completely control Mingnu. After controlling Mingnu, I will take over the space here and help you find the hiding place of Muzan Kibutsuji. Yashiro said and handed over the talisman in his arms, looking like he didn't want to argue anymore. Hearing this, Kanroji Mitsuri looked at Iguro Abane. At this time, Kanroji Mitsuri was also undecided, so she asked, Mr. Iguro, should we listen to him? I don't think he is a bad person. Iguro Abane was also very entangled and hesitant at this time. Cooperating with the demon was definitely the first time in Iguro Abane's life. Iguro Abane had never thought that one day he would fight against the demon together with the demon. But at the moment, there seemed to be no better way to choose than cooperate. If you have any abnormal behavior, be careful of my ruthless sword. Iguro Abane finally chose to trust Yashiro once. Yashiro did not care about Iguro Abane's harsh words. After that, Kanroji Mitsuri, Iguro Abane and Yashiro rushed to the location of Mingnu again. After discussion, Iguro Abane decided that Kanroji Mitsuri would go to pace the talisman alone, while Iguro Abane mainly attracted Mingnu's attention. Of course, Iguro Abane also had talismans in his hand, so that if Iguro Abane could seize the opportunity, he would make up for it. The talismans on the 4 sides are the easiest to paste, so once Mingnu's 4 sides were already pasted with Yashiro's talismans. However, the most difficult thing is to paste the talisman on Mingnu's head. After trying many times, Kanroji Mitsuri, with the help of her own arbitrarily twisted Nichiren sword, managed to stick the talisman on Mingnu's forehead. Although it was not firmly attached and felt like it would be blown off at any time, Yashiro, who had been waiting nearby for a long time, immediately went all out and activated his blood demon technique. Chapter 761, Myriad Things. Blood Demon Art, Thousands of Phenomena. As Yashiro's blood demon art was activated, Mingnu suddenly entered the illusion created by Yashiro. Then, Yashiro jumped in front of Mingnu, and then reached out and patted the talisman that Kanroji Mitsuri had not attached firmly, and finally murmured, "If I hadn't been careful, it would have been a disaster. The Demon Slayer core is really not reliable." After that, Yashiro stood behind Mingnu, and then touched Mingnu's brain with both hands to strengthen control. If the control was not strengthened, Mingnu might still notice it after a long time. Mingnu had no idea that she had entered Yashiro's control. Under Yashiro's control, Yashiro first unlocked part of the blockade on Shiraha. There was a reason for not completely unlocking the blockade, which was to prevent Muzan Kibutsuji from getting suspicious. Although Yashiro controlled Naruto, he could not do whatever he wanted. Otherwise, once Muzan Kibutsuji found out, he would compete with Yashiro for the control of Naruto. Then, Yashiro reassigned Jayamui Kibutsuji with Muchiro Takato. After doing this, Yashiro teleported Mitsuri Kanroji and Abanariguro to his front. Mitsuri Kanroji and Abanariguro, who were teleported back, saw that Yashiro had successfully controlled Naruto, and they immediately had different feelings. Mitsuri Kanroji was happy, because she would no longer be at the mercy of Naruto. But Abanariguro was in a heavy mood, because she was not sure whether Yashiro had other purposes. Since it's successful, then tell me where Muzan Kibutsuji is. Or we can teleport all of us to Muzan Kibutsuji. Abanariguro immediately ordered Yashiro. Hearing this, Yashiro said, "No, you can't show up in front of Muzan Kibutsuji now. Asshole, you kidding me?" Iguro Abane immediately drew his sword and slashed at Yashiro when he heard Yashiro's words. Yashiro saw this and immediately moved Iguro Abane to another place. When Mitsuri Kanroji saw that Iguro Abane had been transferred away by Yashiro and she was the only one left, she immediately became alert, then put on a vigilant posture and shouted angrily, "You bastard, you actually lied to us. You must die a horrible death. Listen to my explanation. I really have no ill intentions. There is a reason why you can't go to Muzan Kibutsuji now. You have already appeared in front of Naruto, and Muzan Kibutsuji can share the visual system of other demons, which means that Muzan Kibutsuji now knows that you are fighting with Naruto. So it is impossible for you to find Muzan Kibutsuji. If the two of you go over at this time, Muzan Kibutsuji will definitely notice it, and the whole plan will fail. The most important thing is relying on the two of you to deal with Muzan Kibutsuji. You are also going to die. So I can't send you over yet. Now is not the time." Yashiro immediately began to explain to Mitsuri Kanroji. After the explanation, Yashiro suddenly felt very tired and couldn't help but complain. No wonder the ghost hunters have been unable to defeat Muzan Kibutsuji for thousands of years. They are just a bunch of simple-minded guys. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762 Explanation. Then why not just teleport everyone to Muzan Kibutsuji? Mitsuri Kanroji was a little skeptical that Yashiro was coming. No. The three upper rank demons, Kokushibo, Dauma, and Akaza, have not been dealt with yet. If you teleport all of you there, Muzan Kibutsuji will be scared away. If Muzan Kibutsuji escapes this time, it will probably take another 100 or even 1,000 years of waiting. Besides, I use the illusion to create the illusion that you were killed by her in the consciousness world of Naruto, so in the shared intelligence of demon, you are already dead. This can reduce the pressure on Muzan Kibutsuji and give him the illusion that he can win this battle. Anyway, it's not the time for you to show up yet, so just wait here with me obediently. When the time is right, I will naturally let you deal with Muzan Kibutsuji. Yashiro spoke out all his overall views like a military advisor. Hearing this, Mitsuri Kanroji thought carefully and felt that Yashiro's words did make some sense. I'm going to get that pretty boy back now. You can explain it to him later. I don't want to explain it again. Yashiro also planned to teleport Iguro Abane back to him in order to prevent him from being exposed. Okay. Kanroji Mitsuri nodded and agreed. Then, a door appeared above Yashiro's head, and Iguro Abane fell out from the space on the other side of the door. As soon as Iguro Abane appeared, he raised his knife again to kill Yashiro. This time, Kanroji Mitsuri stopped Iguro Abane. Mr. Iguro, calm down first. Things are not what you think. Kanroji Mitsuri said to Iguro Abane. What are you calming down for? This guy is just using us. We must kill you to prevent him from achieving his goal. Iguro Abane said angrily. Things are not what you think. After that, Kanroji Mitsuri punched Iguro Abane to the ground. Iguro Abane did not expect Kanroji Mitsuri to attack him, and he was a little confused. Mitsuri Kanroji looked at Iguro Abane who was knocked down by her, and then looked at her fist. Mitsuri Kanroji didn't know why she punched Iguro Abane. Iguro Abane stood up again, and looked at Mitsuri Kanroji in disbelief, and then asked, "You hit me? Are you controlled by a ghost?" Immediately, Iguro Abane immediately turned his head to look at Yashiro, and then asked, "What did you do to Mitsuri-chan? You despicable guy. I was so naive to believe in a ghost. I should have killed you at that time. I was not controlled. Can't you listen to the end of the words? If I was controlled, the one who hit you just now would not be a fist." Mitsuri Kanroji was also a little crazy, and she wanted to slap Iguro Abane a few more times. After that, Mitsuri Kanroji roughly repeated what Yashiro said to Iguro Abane. After hearing this, Iguro Abane still didn't quite believe what he said. At this time, Iguro Abane no longer trusted Yashiro. "You believe all these words?" Iguro Abane questioned Kanroji Mitsuri again. "Yes." Kanroji Mitsuri nodded, and then continued, "If he really had other purposes, now that his purpose has been achieved, we can be teleported to anywhere by him. Why would he leave us here?" Chapter 763 The Long-Awaited Black Death. "And he didn't hurt us. So I think he's still trustworthy." Kanroji Mitsuri continued to talk about the reasons why she believed in Yashiro. The reason why Kanroji Mitsuri was not extremely repulsive to the ghost was because Kanroji Mitsuri became a ghost hunter, not because she had a grudge against the ghost. The reason why Kanroji Mitsuri joined the Demon Slayer Corps was to find a man who could protect her. Because of her different physique from ordinary people, Kanroji Mitsuri could no longer live as a normal person. Her amazing strength and appetite made Kanroji Mitsuri an alien in the eyes of ordinary people. In order to be able to truly let go and be herself, Kanroji Mitsuri joined the Demon Slayer Corps by chance. Kanroji Mitsuri's parents were also very happy that their daughter joined the Demon Slayer Corps. Kanroji Mitsuri's family was protected by the Demon Slayer Corps, and many wisteria trees were planted at home to drive away the ghost. Therefore, Kanroji Mitsuri is the one who has no tragedy in her life among the 9 pillars. If it were other pillars, it would probably not be so easy to believe in a ghost. I think he is just dragging us on purpose. Although Iguro Abane was not so excited, he still did not trust Yashiro in his heart. Yashiro did not say much, because Yashiro himself was somewhat repulsive to the ghost hunters. If Tameo had not been determined to kill Muzan Kibutsuji, Yashiro would not have joined the ghost hunters to deal with Muzan Kibutsuji. In Yashiro's heart, he was actually willing for Tameo to let go of her hatred for Muzan Kibutsuji, and then live with her in such a peaceful life until eternity. Because Yashiro liked Tameo, Yashiro was willing to help Tameo complete this plan. Although Yashiro knew that Tameo might choose to sacrifice in this plan, Yashiro knew that he could not change Tameo's choice, so he could only do his best to help Tameo win this struggle. Before Iguro Abane and Kanroji Mitsuri found Mingnu, while beaming Gayumi and Takito Muchiro were searching for Muzan Kibutsuji, Takito Muchiro was suddenly knocked out by a house on the side that looked like a train compartment. Neither Jayamui beaming Gayu nor Muchiro Takito expected that these interlaced rooms could actually move. Muchiro. Jayamui beaming Gayu stopped and shouted, "Don't worry about me. Go find Muzan Kibutsuji first." Muchiro Takito shouted in response. In just 1 second, Muchiro Takito was thrown dozens of meters away by the building. Jayamui beaming Gayu did not listen to Muchiro Takito, but jumped with all his strength, intending to jump onto the flying building. As a result, when Jayamui beaming Gayu jumped into the air, a door suddenly appeared in front of him. The door opened quickly, and then Jayamui beaming Gayu jumped into a door, and was finally teleported to another place. Muchiro Takito was pushed into another huge room by the building. After Muichiro Takito fell to the ground, he turned over and stood up. Then, Muichiro Takito saw a man wearing a purple kimono, with long samurai hair and 6 eyes standing opposite him. Mirai finally sent someone to me. Kokushibo, who had been waiting here for a long time, couldn't help but murmur. Chapter 764, Descendants of Kokushibo. When Takito Muichiro saw Kokushibo standing in front of him, the hairs on his body stood up, and the cells seemed to be trembling faintly. This oppressive feeling is stronger than that of the upper rank 5. The head of the upper rank is indeed stronger than the other upper ranks. Takito Muichiro couldn't help but think in his heart, and at the same time, put his hand on the hilt of the sword, as if he was ready to attack at any time. And Kokushibo also followed Takito Muichiro, and put his hand on the hilt of his ghost sword. When Takito Muichiro saw Kokushibo's posture, he couldn't help but be shocked, and thought to himself, is this guy also a swordsman? Then, Takito Muichiro glanced down, but found that his right hand was trembling slightly. This was a situation that Takito Muichiro had never encountered before. Was he afraid? Exclamation mark. What's your name? Kokushibo suddenly asked Takito Muichiro. Takito Muichiro didn't know why, but he instinctively replied, although Takito Muichiro's voice was a little afraid. Your last name is Takito, but you don't have Tsujikoku. Has the last name Tsujikoku disappeared? Kokushibo continued to mutter. Why should I have the last name Tsujikoku? Takito Muichiro asked puzzledly. When I was still a human, my name was Tsujikoku Iwakatsu, and I was the heir of the Tsujikoku family. And you are the descendant of the child I left in Tsujikoku. That means you are my descendant. Kokushibo continued. Hearing this, Takito Muichiro was extremely shocked. He was actually the descendant of upper rank demon. This was too ridiculous. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm not your descendant. Takito Muichiro refuted vigorously. This cannot be changed by your denial. My cells will not be wrong about my bloodline. Kokushibo continued. Soon, Takito Muichiro calmed down again, and then said righteously, even so, then I will kill you, the shame of this family. Kokushibo was not angry at all, but praised. You are in a good mood. You regained your composure so quickly. And Takito Muichiro restrained the fear in his body, and approached Kokushibo actively. Kasumi breathing, second form, Yi Kasumi. At the moment of the attack, the mist spread all around, and at the same time, Kokushibo's figure disappeared in front of Takito Muichiro, and Takito Muichiro's attack could only miss. But Kokushibo's figure had already appeared behind Takito Muichiro. Kokushibo seemed to be more interested in Takito Muichiro's strength, so he never made a move. Your swordsmanship is quite exquisite, and you didn't embarrass the country. Did you create your own Kasumi breathing? Although it's far worse than my brother. But it's still not bad. Kokushibo continued to speak. Who are you? You are not worthy. Takito Muichiro snorted and attacked again. Breathing of the clouds. Form 5. Sea of Clouds. Just as Takito Muichiro approached Kokushibo, Kokushibo suddenly flashed, leaving behind a shadow, and flashed behind Takito Muichiro. You have mastered such amazing sword skills at such a young age. It's not an exaggeration to say that you are a genius. You are afraid of me, but you still force yourself to suppress your fear and attack me. You are worthy of being my descendant. Chapter 765 Civil War. Kokushibo's words made Takito Muichiro feel very upset. After all, he was unwilling to accept that his ancestor was a ghost, which was not a very glorious thing. Although the blood relationship is very weak and the family name has been cut off, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that your body still flows with my blood. Kokushibo kept saying. Over hundreds of years, your blood and cells have long been washed away. The blood flowing in my body is my mother's blood, not yours. Takito Muichiro became more and more angry. Driven by anger, Takito Muichiro's heartbeat beat faster, and all of a sudden, the auspicious cloud-like marking on Takito Muichiro's body opened and appeared again. Marking appeared, so that's it. Your marking will only appear when the body reaches certain conditions. It's a little different from the marking I opened back then. Kokushibo saw Takito Muichiro making his marking appear, and soon saw all the conditions of Takito Muichiro's body. The reason why Kokushibo can see all of Takito Muchiro's physical conditions is because Kokushibo has been in the state of transparent world since he met Takito Muchiro, Aboro. Then Takito Muchiro opened the field of Aboro, which was a trick that defeated the upper 5, Gamatsubo. Then the fog around became thicker, and Kokushibo's figure was about to be submerged in the fog. Is this the trick that killed Gamatsubo at that time? It's really unusual. Kokushibo couldn't help but say again. Kokushibo's state at this time did not seem to be against the enemy, but rather a kind of guidance and comments from a senior to a junior. As soon as the voice fell, Takito Muchiro's figure appeared in front of Kokushibo like a ghost, and at the same time, the Nichiren sword in Takito Muchiro's hand had already swung towards Kokushibo's neck. Just when Takito Muchiro's Nichiren sword was completely swung out, Kokushibo's figure became illusory and blurred. After image? Even Aboro can't keep up with his speed. Takito Muchiro exclaimed in his heart. Then, Takito Muchiro's figure was submerged in the mist again, and then appeared somewhere else, and finally like a soul floating in the mist. His speed was very slow, but sometimes, in the blink of an eye, Takito Muchiro's figure had already floated far away. Kokushibo, who dodged the attack, saw Takito Muchiro's ghostly movement and couldn't help but admire in his heart. The rhythm is unique, hard to see through, static and dynamic coexist, confusing. No wonder you who died in Muchiro's hands. You and I are both swordsmen. If I don't draw my sword at this time, it would be disrespectful to you. After saying that, Kokushibo suddenly drew his sword and swung it in front of him. Breathing of the moon, Form 1, Dark Moon, Palace of the Night. Although there was nothing in front of him when Kokushibo attacked, as if he was attacking the air. When Kokushibo's demon sword was completely swung out, Takito Muchiro's figure suddenly appeared in front of Kokushibo. Kokushibo's demon sword cut off one of Takito Muchiro's hands, and Takito Muchiro's figure suddenly froze in place, and the severed arm fell to the ground. Chapter 766 My child, become a ghost. At this time, Takito Muchiro's expression was not only extremely painful, but also extremely surprised. He never thought that Kokushibo would cut off one of his hands so easily. This guy had completely seen through him and predicted his actions. The most important thing is that Kokushibo can actually use breathing techniques. The physical attributes of the ghost itself are far superior to ordinary people. If combined with breathing, it is really terrible. Damn, I'm not my opponent at all, even in my own field. Takito Muchiro gritted his teeth and said secretly. At this time, it can be clearly seen that there are a lot of sweat beads on Takito Muchiro's forehead and face. These are cold sweats caused by the pain. Despite this, Takito Muchiro still used breathing techniques to seal the blood vessels of the broken arm in the first place. The blood flowing from the broken arm was like tightening a faucet, and only a small amount of blood was dripping to the ground. After stopping the bleeding, Takito Muchiro bravely moved forward again towards Kokushibo. Although Takito Muchiro knew that he was no match for Kokushibo, the only thing he could do was to attack. Takito Muchiro did not think that running away would be useful. Even if he ran away, where could he run to? In this situation, there was no tactical retreat at all. Facing Takito Muchiro, who had put aside all distractions and only wanted to attack, Kokushibo was even more satisfied with Takito Muchiro. You are worthy of being my descendant. You still have the blood of a samurai flowing in your body. The next moment, when Takito Muchiro swung his sword at Kokushibo, Kokushibo suddenly grabbed Takito Muchiro's hand holding the Nichiren sword, and then twisted it, forcibly changing the direction of Takito Muchiro's sword, causing Takito Muchiro's Nichiren sword to turn and stab into his right chest. Finally, Kokushibo pushed the handle hard again, so that the Nichiren sword was completely inserted into Takito Muchiro's body, and at the same time, nailed it to a beam in the room. My child, as a ghost, come with me to revive the succession family. As for the arm, it will naturally grow back after becoming a ghost. Kokushibo said to Takito Muchiro, who was nailed to the beam. Hearing this, Takito Muchiro said very resolutely, you are dreaming. I will never become a ghost, even if I die. Don't rush to refuse. Wait until I deal with the peeping little mouse first. Maybe you will change your mind. After Kokushibo said this, his figure suddenly disappeared from the original place. Fushiguro Zuanaya, who was hiding behind a screen, had raised his double-barreled musket in his hand and aimed at Kokushibo. Just when Fushiguro Zuanaya was about to pull the trigger, he found that Kokushibo disappeared, and he couldn't help but be stunned. Gone. Don't you know that it is very shameless to do something dirty? Kokushibo's voice sounded behind Fushiguro Zuanaya. Hearing this, Fushiguro Zuanaya's heart suddenly tightened. Oh no. Behind me. Before Fushiguro Zuanaya could turn around or dodge, his arm holding the double-barreled musket was suddenly chopped off and fell to the ground. The chopped arm did not have much impact on Fushiguro Zuanaya. Fushiguro Zuanaya pulled out the short Nichiren sword hanging on his waist and suddenly turned around and chopped behind him. Kokushibo's figure stood behind Fushiguro Zuanaya again, with his back to him. Chapter 767. Muchiro becomes a ghost. Fushiguro Zuanaya didn't even see the real body of Kokushibo, and he didn't even see the process of Kokushibo's sword. His other arm was also cut off. Fushiguro Zuanaya stood there in a daze, as if he felt that he had no ability to struggle or resist anymore. Kokushibo left only 4 words in Fushiguro Zuanaya's heart, that is, so terrifying. The one who eats, ghost, is you. Kokushibo said coldly. After that, Fushiguro Zuanaya was cut in half by Kokushibo's sword. Kokushibo's sword was so fast that it was impossible to see it clearly with the naked eye. Zuanaya. Tokito Muchiro shouted loudly. Fushiguro Zuanaya, who was cut in half, had to lie on the ground, but Fushiguro Zuanaya still did not die. But if he could not recover for a long time, Fushiguro Zuanaya would still die. But conventional treatments are definitely not enough to treat Fushiguro Zuanaya. The only way for Fushiguro Zuanaya to survive is to eat ghosts and transform into a ghost. Kokushibo looked down at the worm like Fushiguro Zuanaya and said with disdain, "Your body has been cut into 2 pieces, but you are still alive. More than 300 years ago, there was also a swordsman who ate demons, like you. He died when his body was cut off. You seem to be stronger than him. It seems that like a demon, you have to chop off your head to die. There is no need to give a guy like you who is neither a human nor a demon to live," Kokushibo said, and then he planned to give Fushiguro Zuanaya the last blow. "No. I promise you. I'm willing to become a demon as long as you let him go." Tokito Muchiro immediately compromised with Kokushibo. Hearing this, Kokushibo's demon sword that had touched Fushiguro Zuanaya's neck stopped immediately, and then Kokushibo really took the demon sword back. Fushiguro Zuanaya was also very shocked at this time. He did not expect that the Kasumi pillar Tokito Muchiro would choose to become a demon in order to save himself. "Master Tokito, my life is not worth it." Fushiguro Zuanaya immediately stopped Tokito Muchiro from coming. Kokushibo did not pay attention to Tokito Muchiro anymore, but came to Tokito Muchiro and asked again, "Have you really thought about it?" Tokito Muchiro nodded and said, "As long as you let him go. Of course there is no problem." Kokushibo did not take Fushiguro Zuanaya seriously at all, so whether he killed Fushiguro Zuanaya or not would not affect Kokushibo. As soon as he finished speaking, Kokushibo inserted his finger into Tokito Muchiro's heart. Tokito Muchiro screamed in pain immediately. As soon as a painful feeling passed, Tokito Muchiro suddenly felt that his body seemed to be undergoing very amazing changes. The endless power kept pouring into Tokito Muchiro's body. At that moment, Tokito Muchiro could be said to have almost lost himself. This feeling of gaining power is difficult to describe in words. Then, an extra eye grew out of the center of Tokito Muchiro's forehead. From this change, it can be seen that Tokito Muchiro has become a ghost. After Tokito Muchiro grew an extra eye, the arm that was previously cut off also regenerated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Kokushibo pulled out his fingers and looked at Tokito Muchiro with 3 eyes, and a smug smile appeared on his face. Chapter 768, Black Death's Plan. After becoming a ghost, Tokito Muchiro pulled out the Nichiren sword from his body, and his feet, which were originally suspended in the air, fell back to the ground. Is this the power brought by ghosts? It's really powerful. If they were not afraid of sunlight and beheading, this world would really be dominated by ghosts. Tokito Muchiro murmured. Soon this era will come. Kokushibo responded immediately. However, Takito Muchiro did not pay any more attention to Kokushibo, but flashed in front of Fushiguro Jinmiya, and then squatted in front of Fushiguro Jinmiya. Fushiguro Jinmiya looked at Takito Muchiro, who had become a ghost, and his heart was not only shocked, but also full of confusion. Master Takito, why? Why did you become a ghost? Fushiguro Jinmiya asked loudly. Takito Muchiro did not answer Fushiguro Jinmiya, but put his hand in front of Fushiguro Jinmiya's mouth, and gave Fushiguro Jinmiya a look. Fushiguro Zuanaya immediately understood what Takito Muchiro meant, and then bit Takito Muchiro's arm, biting off a piece of meat from Takito Muchiro's arm, and finally chewed it casually, and swallowed it directly into his stomach. Aboro. Then Takito Muchiro activated the domain of Aboro, and the surroundings were suddenly shrouded by black mist. After becoming a ghost, Takito Muchiro's moves also seemed to have changed. Then, Takito Muchiro said to Fushiguro Zuanaya, "Go." After saying that, Takito Muchiro's figure disappeared in the black mist. Then, Takito Muchiro and Kokushibo were seen to have drawn their swords against each other. Kokushibo was not surprised by Takito Muchiro's attack, because when he turned Takito Muchiro into a ghost, Kokushibo had already guessed that this might be the outcome. "Thank you for your strength, so that I can have the ability to fight you," Takito Muchiro said to Kokushibo, pretending to be grateful. "Don't think that you can defeat me by becoming a ghost. Your betrayal is also within my expectations." Kokushibo responded coldly. The reason why Kokushibo turned Takito Muchiro into a ghost, when he knew that he might betray, was actually for another purpose. This purpose was to make Takito Muchiro, who had become a ghost, fall into a state of irrational rampage, and then let Takito Muchiro fight the Demon Slayer core in this state. Under normal circumstances, ghosts will not go berserk. They will only go berserk when they consume too much energy. However, before that, they will feel hungry first. If they feel hungry, but cannot eat anyone, they will go berserk. This is the real purpose of Kokushibo turning Takito Muchiro into a ghost. Kokushibo does not care too much about whether Takito Muchiro is really willing to join the ghost side. Of course, if Takito Muchiro can join voluntarily, that would naturally be the best. Moreover, as long as Takito Muchiro went berserk and ate people, even if he wanted to use the power of the demon to kill the demon, he would not be accepted by the Demon Slayer core. Then Takito Muchiro would have two choices, either commit suicide, or choose to join the demon. Moon breathing, 5 forms, Moon Soul Disaster. After Takito Muchiro became a demon, Kokushibo's attacks became more aggressive. Anyway, as long as Takito Muchiro was not beheaded by the Sunblade and exposed to the sun, no matter how serious the attack was, it would not kill him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769 Ability Unlock. Moreover, only by repeatedly injuring Takito Muchiro, and then letting his cells regenerate and recover, can Takito Muchiro be consumed to the maximum extent, and make him fall into the state of rampage faster. With the release of Moon Soul Disaster, a huge crescent sword energy suddenly spread around Kokushibo. Takito Muchiro was shocked to see that Kokushibo could release his slash without swinging his sword, and then immediately drew his sword and retreated, allowing himself to disappear back into the mist. Then, the sound of swinging a sword and metal colliding was heard in the mist. It was obvious that Takito Muchiro was dealing with Kokushibo's crescent sword energy. Moon breathing, landform, long night, lonely moon, no space. Just as Takito Muchiro was parrying Kokushibo's previous attack, Kokushibo's more intensive attack came. Takito Muchiro, who had become a ghost, still could not completely keep up with Kokushibo's rhythm, and was suddenly attacked, and one hand and one leg were cut off. Takito Muchiro lost one hand and one leg, and the cells in his body fissioned and replenished crazily again. It seemed that in 2 seconds, Takito Muchiro's severed limbs regenerated immediately. Takito Muchiro began to be fascinated by the regeneration and recovery ability of the demon. This ability is indeed very magical, a magic that makes people think. After Fushiguro Zuanaya bit off a piece of Takito Muchiro's flesh, he also used the power that Takito Muchiro obtained from Kakushibao and successfully entered the demonization. Although this power was not directly obtained from Kakushibao, it came from Kakushibao. Fushiguro Zuanaya could feel the power of that power, which was even stronger than the power obtained from the upper four. With the help of this power, Fushiguro Zuanaya's lost torso also began to regenerate and recover. After recovering, Fushiguro Zuanaya took down the weapon in the hand of the severed limb. Although Fushiguro Zuanaya wanted to help Takito Muchiro, the black mist released by Takito Muchiro affected Fushiguro Zuanaya's vision, making it difficult for Fushiguro Zuanaya to see Kakushibo's movements. Just when Takito Muchiro had just recovered from his injuries, Kakushibo's figure had already approached him. Takito Muchiro could only choose to retreat. Before Takito Muchiro's figure was completely immersed in the black mist, Kakushibo's attack had already fallen towards Takito Muchiro. But now Takito Muchiro had no weapon in his hand, because the arm that was cut off just now was the right hand holding the Nichiren sword, so the Nichiren sword was still on that severed hand. Just when Takito Muchiro felt that he was being cut again, suddenly Takito Muchiro's arm immediately changed shape and became a long blade. Immediately, Takito Muchiro swung out the arm that had turned into a blade to meet Kakushibo. Has the ability been unlocked? As expected of my child, this ability is the same as mine. Kakushibo secretly sighed in his heart. Breathing of the clouds, second form, double clouds. Breathing of the moon, third form, aversion moon, eclipse. The double slash that Takito Muchiro swung out instantly collided with the continuous slash that Kakushibo swung out, and the surrounding mist was suddenly rolled up. This allowed the blind Fushiguro Genai to find the location of Takito Muchiro and Kakushibo in an instant, and Fushiguro Genai immediately raised the double-barreled musket in his hand and aimed at Kakushibo and pulled the trigger. Chapter 770, Signs of Losing Control. Bang. With a gunshot, the lead bullets in the double-barreled muskets were ejected towards Kakushibo. Breath of the Moon, Form 5, Moon Soul Disaster. At the same time that Fushiguro Jinmiya pulled the trigger, Kakushibo had already noticed Fushiguro Jinmiya's movements. With the activation of Moon Soul Disaster, a large number of crescent-shaped sword energy suddenly burst out from Kakushibo's body. The sword energy deflected all the lead bullets and flew towards Fushiguro Jinmiya. The first person to be attacked by Moon Soul Disaster was Takito Muchiro, because Takito Muchiro was fighting with Kakushibo, so facing the sword energy slash that Kakushibo could use without weapons, he had no way to deal with it. This is like Kakushibo has an extra pair of invisible hands, while Takito Muchiro only has two hands, and these two hands are already doing their best to deal with Kakushibo's Moon of Disgust, Eclipse. Now Takito Muchiro can only barely deal with Kakushibo's single move. If he wants to attack with two moves connected together, Takito Muchiro can not only not resist, but also find it extremely difficult to dodge. Then, Kakushibo's crescent sword energy fell on Takito Muchiro, and once again severely injured Takito Muchiro. Facing the crescent sword energy that flew in front of him in the blink of an eye, Fushiguro Zuanaya could only barely make the attack avoid the vital parts, and could not completely avoid the sword energy attack. Immediately afterwards, Fushiguro Zuanaya was cut in half again. Fushiguro Zuanaya immediately used the ability to recover and regenerate, and connected the cut body part back before the torso was separated. Compared with abandoning the lower body, this method is a faster recovery method and the method with the least impact. Unless the lower body has been completely separated from the upper body, and the two parts of the body have been separated, the only choice is to abandon the lower body and then regenerate a new torso. The body of Takito Muchiro, who was attacked, was also dismembered and scattered. Kakushibo did not chase Takito Muchiro again, but found Takito Muchiro's broken hand that was still holding the Nichiren sword, and then completely destroyed the Nichiren sword. Once the Nichiren sword was destroyed, it undoubtedly made Takito Muchiro lose the opportunity to kill Kakushibo. Although Kakushibo now has the ability to kill Fushiguro Jinmiya, Kakushibo is not in a hurry to do it, because he plans to drag Takito Muchiro to run away, and then let the runaway Takito Muchiro deal with Fushiguro Jinmiya. When Takito Muchiro's body recovered again, he suddenly found that he had the desire to eat people. The desire to eat people immediately made Takito Muchiro nervous, because this was not a good sign. Because Takito Muchiro's plan was to turn into a ghost and then use the power of the ghost to kill Kokushibo, or to drag Kokushibo to death, and then choose to commit suicide. Takito Muchiro forcibly restrained his desire to eat people, and then took the initiative to attack Kokushibo again. Mist breathing, 4 type, horizontal / moon breathing, 1 type, dark moon yayo no gong. This time, Takito Muchiro's figure passed by Kokushibo like a ghost, and the moment they passed by, the two attacks actually collided. Then, Takito Muchiro stood behind Kokushibo with his back to him, and the next moment, Takito Muchiro turned around and attacked again. Chapter 771 Out of Control. Breathing of the Clouds. Form 3. Spraying Clouds. As Takito Muchiro turned around and swung his sword heavily, the black mist around him was immediately affected and rolled up again. However, Kokushibo's figure had already disappeared from the previous position, and Takito Muchiro's Form 3 just missed. Breathing of the Moon. Form 8. Moon Dragon Tail. At the moment when Takito Muchiro's attack missed, Kokushibo, who had distanced himself from Takito Muchiro, directly used the extremely powerful Moon Dragon Tail. A horizontal slash that almost covered the entire room broke through the black mist and directly slashed at Takito Muchiro's body, cutting him in half. At the same time, Takito Muchiro's severed upper and lower body was knocked out and finally hit the wall heavily. The screens and beams around the room were also completely destroyed by Kokushibo's slash with a wide range and terrifying power. Takito Muchiro had not expected that Kokushibo could use such a terrifying move. He could either dodge the attack just now or face off with it, and he would definitely die. Fortunately, Takito Muchiro is now a ghost, so he doesn't have to worry about his own death. Soon, Takito Muchiro's body, which was cut in half, regenerated again, but this time the regeneration speed was much slower than before. It seemed that the previous regeneration and recovery had consumed too much of Takito Muchiro's cells. When Takito Muchiro recovered this time, Takito Muchiro found that he wanted to eat people more and more, or it could be said that Takito Muchiro's body was forcing him to eat people. At this time, Takito Muchiro realized that his thoughts at the time seemed a little too naive. It seemed that he did not take advantage of Kokushibo, but took the initiative to fall into Kokushibo's trap. Fushiguro Genai was also affected by Kokushibo's Moon Dragon Tail. Just now, his body, which had just recovered not long ago, was ruthlessly cut in half again. The upper and lower parts of his body were completely separated. The most important thing is that the lower part of his body has disappeared. At this time, Takito Muchiro has already recognized the facts. He thought it was naive to win by turning into a ghost or to drag Kokushibo to death. Takito Muchiro, who was already discouraged, released a Boro, and the black fog in the room disappeared quickly. Finally, his vision was no longer blocked by the black fog. Fushiguro Genai could clearly see Kokushibo standing more than 20 meters in front of him. The purpose of Takito Muchiro releasing a Boro was actually to find the Nichiren sword held by his broken arm, and then use the Nichiren sword to commit suicide and end this ridiculous choice. Kokushibo also noticed that Takito Muchiro seemed to be looking for something, so he said, "Don't look for it. It's too late to commit suicide now. I know you want to eat people now. Just follow your heart. In fact, there's nothing wrong with eating people." Under the influence of the desire to eat people, Takito Muchiro had no intention of fighting at this time. Finally, after knowing that he could not find his Nichiren sword, Takito Muchiro looked at Fushiguro Genai. The aura of Fushiguro Genai deeply attracted Takito Muchiro at this time. Although Fushiguro Genai is now in a demonic state, Fushiguro Genai is still a human being in essence, and he exudes the aura of a human. Chapter 772 Kill Me. The more he looked at Fushiguro Genai, Takito Muchiro found that his desire to eat people was infinitely magnified, and his rationality was also being eroded bit by bit. As time went by, Takito Muchiro's rationality would be completely swallowed up by the instinctive desires of his body, and at that time, this body would be completely out of his control. Fushiguro Genai also noticed the look in Takito Muchiro's eyes when he looked at him. It was a look of hunger and thirst, like a beast looking at its prey. When he saw Takito Muchiro showing that kind of expression to him, Fusagora Zuanaya was actually a little scared in his heart, and he already knew that Takito Muchiro had started to eat people. Zuanaya, kill me. Quick. Takito Muchiro resisted the urge to pounce on Fusagora Zuanaya and ordered Fusagora Zuanaya with all his strength. Hearing this, Fusagora Zuanaya was slightly stunned, although Fusagora Zuanaya knew that when Takito Muchiro made this choice, he had actually chosen death. But when it comes to drawing a sword against Takito Muchiro who has turned into a demon, Fusagora Zuanaya really can't bear to do it. Because from the fact that Takito Muchiro turned into a demon and fought with Kokoshibo, Fusagora Zuanaya knew that Takito Muchiro wanted to use the power of the demon to defeat Kokoshibo, but for this approach, it is actually very risky. After all, turning into a demon is not a joke. Turning into a demon is different from Fusagora Zuanaya's demonization. Demonization is to temporarily gain the ability of a demon, while turning into a demon is to really become a demon. Moreover, the power of a demon can make people feel dependent. If a person with weak willpower gains the power of a demon, it is very easy to fall. Even if he doesn't fall at the beginning, as long as he has the idea of eating people, it is even more difficult to restrain. Although Nezuko overcame it, Nezuko is just an example. In other words, not everyone who becomes a demon can completely restrain eating people like Nezuko. Otherwise, the ghosts will be divided into two groups. One group is the ghosts that eat people, and the other group is the ghosts that don't eat people. Now Takito Muchiro is facing such a situation. If he can't overcome it, Takito Muchiro will eat people. Once Takito Muchiro eats people for the first time, Takito Muchiro will not be recognized by the demon slayer core like Nezuko. Fusagora Zuanaya is unwilling to kill Takito Muchiro because he wants Takito Muchiro to be like Nezuko. Even if he becomes a ghost, as long as he doesn't eat people, the situation is not bad. Master Takito, think about Nezuko. If she can overcome eating people, you can definitely do it too. Fusagora Zuanaya immediately yelled at Takito Muchiro. Hearing this, Takito Muchiro couldn't help but laugh in his heart. This laugh was because Fusagora Zuanaya actually thought things were so beautiful. However, Takito Muchiro was still clear about his own situation. It was unlikely that he would be like Nezuko. Nezuko's situation at the time and every aspect of her were very different from his own. So how could Nezuko's case be replicated so easily? If the ghost cannibalism instinct was really that easy to overcome, then Muzan Kibutsuji would have overcome it long ago. Don't be stupid. Kill me now. Chapter 773 Long time no see. Hurry. Do you want to be eaten by me? Takito Muchiro roared at Fusagora Zuanaya again with an extremely uncomfortable look on his face. Hearing this, Fusagora Zuanaya gritted his teeth and stood up with his newly regenerated lower body. But when Fusagora Zuanaya just stood up, the figure of Kokoshibo suddenly appeared in front of him, and then cut off one of Fusagora Zuanaya's arms with a knife at a speed that was invisible to the naked eye. Finally, Kokoshibo grabbed Fusagora Zuanaya's broken arm in his hand. Then, Kokoshibo kicked Fusagora Zuanaya out with one foot. After doing this, Kokoshibo came to Takito Muchiro with Fusagora Zuanaya's broken arm and handed the broken arm to him, as if to seduce Takito Muchiro. The smell of blood suddenly filled Takito Muchiro's nasal cavity, which undoubtedly stimulated Takito Muchiro and made Takito Muchiro's cells even crazier. At that moment, reason seemed to have been completely devoured. In reality, Takito Muchiro drooled and seemed to be very eager to get what Kokoshibo had in his hand. When Kokoshibo saw Takito Muchiro's appearance, he said with satisfaction, "Take what you want. This is how you should be. Enjoy the power that flesh and blood brings you. The more you eat, the stronger your power will become." The next moment, Takito Muchiro really snatched the broken arm of Fusagora Zuanaya and then opened his mouth to bite it. Just when Takito Muchiro's mouth was about to bite it, an axe swung over and directly chopped off Takito Muchiro's hands holding Fusagora Zuanaya's broken arm. Takito Muchiro was also stunned by this sudden change. Then the axe was pulled back by the chain connected to it. Muchiro. Beaming Gyu's rough voice rang in this room. Takito Muchiro and Kokoshibo turned their heads and looked in the direction of the voice. The tall and mighty Gyamui of Beaming Island was standing not far away, and he was holding a long iron chain tightly in one hand. One end of the iron chain was locked with a meteor hammer, and the other end was locked with an axe. The axe was held in Gyamui of Beaming Island's other hand. The meteor hammer and the axe were made of the materials used to make the Nichiren sword, so like the Nichiren sword, they have the ability to kill demons. Rock Pillar Beaming Island, long time no see. After seeing Gyamui of Beaming Island, Kokushibo could not help but greeted the rock pillar. Kokushibo, what did you do to Muchiro? Gyamui of Beaming Island asked. Nothing, it's just that this child joined us. You may not know that this child is actually my descendant. Kokushibo replied. From the fact that Kokushibo took the initiative to greet Gyamui of Beaming Island at the beginning, it can be seen that Kokushibo seemed to have had contact with Gyamui of Beaming Island before. The first encounter was when the rock pillar had not yet opened the mark. Then, when investigating the whereabouts of Muzan Kibatsuji, he met Kokushibo. The rock pillar almost died in that battle. If he had not held on until dawn, Gyamui would have died at the hands of Kokushibo. It was also during that time that Gyamui opened the mark. He was also the first pillar to successfully open the mark after the group of swordsmen led by Yoriichi Kuni. It was also because he survived the battle with Kokushibo that Gyamui became the recognized strongest pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. Chapter 774, Killing Each Other. Of course, it wasn't just Gyamui who was fighting Kokushibo at that time. The one who fought Kokushibo together with Gyamui was the former Wind Pillar. It's just that he died in that battle. Without the help of the former Wind Pillar, Gyamui would definitely not have survived until dawn. After the former Wind Pillar died, Fushiguro Sanya succeeded to the position. After Gyamui heard what Kokushibo said, Gyamui retorted, although Muchiro is a descendant of Tsugakuni, you are no longer worthy of being his ancestor. What Muchiro inherited was the belief of Tsugakuni Yoriichi, not yours. Really? But no matter what, Muchiro is my bloodline, not my brother's. Kokushibo continued. Good boy, go and kill the guy who won't let you eat meat. His body has been trained to the extreme. Eating him will make you stronger. Kokushibo did not continue to argue with Beaming Gyumui, but turned to the already irrational Takito Muchiro and gave orders. Without Kokushibo's words, Takito Muchiro's body instinctively sensed the high level of Beaming Gyumui's food. Facing Kokushibo's orders, Takito Muchiro was really like an obedient child, baring his teeth at Beaming Gyumui. This may be because Takito Muchiro and Kokushibo have a thin blood connection. So the irrational Takito Muchiro thought that Kokushibo was in the same group with him. Looking at Takito Muchiro's appearance at this time, Beaming Gyumui felt distressed. Although Beaming Gyumui didn't know why Takito Muchiro chose to become a ghost, Beaming Gyumui could feel that Takito Muchiro was not a traitor. Aboro. The runaway Takito Muchiro directly opened the domain of Aboro, and his arm immediately turned into a sharp blade. The blade that Takito Muchiro's arm turned into was the same as Kokushibo's, with eyes on the blade. However, compared with the number of eyes on Kokushibo's demon sword, Takito Muchiro's eyes were much less. Facing Takito Muchiro's active attack, Beaming Gyumui shouted, Muchiro, wake up. Although Beaming Gyumui still wanted to save Muchiro at this time, Beaming Gyumui was ready to kill Takito Muchiro. If it weren't for Nezuko, Beaming Gyumui might not have thought of saving Takito Muchiro at all. Nezuko's example made Beaming Gyumui gradually understand that becoming a ghost is not scary, but what is scary is the behavior of killing humans after becoming a ghost. Mist breathing, type 2, double mist. Rock breathing, type 3, rock skin. Facing Takito Muchiro's double mist, Gyumui Beaming also used his own moves. Rockskin is a defensive move in which Gyumui Beaming uses himself as the center and continuously swings the meteor hammer. It is actually passive aggressive. Ding ding ding, the sound of metal collisions continued, and a large number of sparks flickered faintly in the black fog. Kokushibo did not choose to fight Gyumui Beaming with Takito Muchiro. What he wanted to see was to let Takito Muchiro and Gyumui Beaming kill each other. Mist breathing, type 1, Dang Shion Yu and Mist. Takito Muchiro saw that. Dang ding. could not break Jayamui Beaming's defensive attack, so he switched to a thrust move. Chapter 775. Next time it will be your head. Although Shitao Muchiro lost his mind, his breathing method and moves have become his body's instincts, so Shitao Muchiro's body or cells can still skip the brain and actively use appropriate moves. In this state of losing his mind, Shitao Muchiro has only one goal, which is to kill Beaming using Mui, and then eat him. Moreover, in this irrational situation, Shitao Muchiro's fighting style has become more pure. Simply put, Shitao Muchiro has become a little stronger, and his attacks have become more lethal. Facing Shitao Muchiro's stab, Beaming using Mui already felt Shitao Muchiro's murderous intention towards him. Beaming using Mui swung out with his other hand with an axe, and in an instant, Shitao Muchiro's arm that turned into a blade was chopped off from the shoulder by the axe. From Beaming using Mui's decisive counter-attack and the chopped off of Shitao Muchiro's arm, it is already known that Beaming using Mui actually did not let him go. If you don't wake up, it will be your head next time. Beaming Giyu Ming said coldly to Shitao Muchiro. Raw Shitao Muchiro, who had lost his mind, roared at Beaming Giyu Ming, as if telling Beaming Giyu Ming not to be complacent. Then, Shitao Muchiro disappeared into the black fog, and Beaming Giyu Ming immediately became alert. Immediately, Shitao Muchiro's figure appeared in the black fog from time to time, and sometimes disappeared into the black fog. The distance between him and Beaming Giyu Ming was also fluctuating. Suddenly, Shitao Muchiro's figure appeared in front of Beaming Giyu Ming, and the two were almost face to face. Seeing this, Beaming Giyu Ming did not attack Shitao Muchiro in front of him, or dodge at all. Instead, he suddenly turned around and swung the meteor hammer violently. Then the meteor hammer hit something hard, splashing a lot of sparks. After seeing it clearly, he found that it was Tokito Muchiro's ghost sword. From Beaming Giyu Ming's actions, it can be seen that the Tokito Muchiro who appeared in front of Beaming Giyu Ming was not his real body. If Beaming Giyu Ming had not seen through it, his head would have fallen to the ground now. After the meteor hammer interrupted Tokito Muchiro's fatal blow, Beaming Giyu Ming suddenly reached out and grabbed Tokito Muchiro's neck, then pulled him over fiercely, and finally smashed Tokito Muchiro's head fiercely to the ground. From Beaming Giyu Ming's giant physique, it can be seen how terrifying his power is. When Tokito Muchiro's head touched the ground suddenly cracked, and the surrounding black fog was also affected by the energy impact, and there was a visible vibration, and Tokito Muchiro's head was pressed into the ground by Beaming Giyu Ming. However, Beaming Giyu Ming knew that for Tokito Muchiro who had become a ghost, such damage would not have any effect on him. Just when Jayamui Beaming Giyu was about to kill Tokito Muchiro, Kokushibo appeared behind Jayamui Beaming Giyu. Rock breathing, Form 3, Rock Skin. Jayamui Beaming Giyu had to give up the chance to kill Tokito Muchiro, and used a defensive move to deal with Kokushibo's attack from behind. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.